Good evening, I'm Abigail Gardner, and this is the YHS News. As you can tell by the flora and fauna surrounding me, I have landed safely on Monster Island. I wanted to say that I'm very excited to be speaking with Jacob Walsh and Jay Key tonight. The weather is great, and I'm ready for an island adventure. Stay tuned for the rest.
You have your fear, which might become reality. And you have Godzilla, which is reality.
I'm sick of Godzilla.
Wake up, Megalon!
There are two things you don't know about the Earth. One is me, and the other is Godzilla.
We're safe now. No human being can understand that. The monsters on Monster Island can understand it.
Whether he returns or not, or is never again seen by human eyes, the things he has taught us remain.
Cool. Hello, we are back. Is this our first show of the year?
It is.
No? Is it?
It is. It is.
Oh my God. Well, I guess Happy New Year if that's a thing. But there's three of us tonight. And listen, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Jay, my co-host, because I know Jay's going to introduce the rest of us. So Jay, how are you doing? Thank you for being here. How are you?
Well, it is our first show of the year. Some might think it's the year 2020, but we all know in the year of our Lord and Savior, the cybernetic space chicken Gigan 50, it is year 50. And who better to celebrate it with than, we got the tattooed titan of Tokusatsu, Jacob Walsh over there, blah, old news. But we also have our special guest. She is the kick-ass queen of the cosmos, the feline frolicking femme fatale of Faroe Island, and you might be aware of her podcast interrupting cats. But did you also know she's Atlanta's #1 breeder of door rats? She's new to kaiju, but from Tokyo Tower to Pai Kai Tower, she is podcasting royalty. And we just call her the shoguness of the Shobajin, Miss Abigail Gardner.
I'm not worthy. Oh my God. Thank you so much. I have always, that's actually why I'm doing the show tonight, is to get that intro. Everyone else gets a sweet intro from Jay, but God, we can swear. God damn it, dude.
Yeah,
that was really well written, Jay. I know that you are a writer, author, publish, etc. And that's I mean, you seem to take joy in that, and you can really feel it every time that you do the intro. So I wanted to say thank you for doing that.
You're welcome into my contract. So I
have
have
to.
to.
Oh, you have to?
But before we go any further,
Jake will fire you?
I want Abby to explain all the references in that.
Okay, so you said Dorats. I know those are the little Godzillas from.
Well, wrong.
They're little.
Kind of right.
They're it's like the Terminator style. I know I don't know the name of it, but it's definitely like I remember they were in one of the time travel movies.
You're right.
True.
Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. So let me that people are probably like, what is happening? We brought Abby on from YHS because Abby is kind of just getting into this, kind of just getting started. She's only been, watching Godzilla movies pretty recently, I guess. And we just thought it would be cool to bring her on and make fun of her for not knowing anything. So,
I can't wait. I welcome it.
Or what better New Year's resolution than to get into the kaiju genre? I mean, who cares about dieting and health and all that stuff? We care about giant rubber-suited monsters, and it's the perfect New Year's resolution.
I think so. I absolutely agree with you, Jay. Honestly, like if we were traveling back as to like when I really first started getting heavily into watching Godzilla movies or watching more than one at once was when you were in town in Atlanta, and it was like all three of us together. And I kind of got like the bug at that point. And
we sat down and we watched. What did we watch? Godzilla's Revenge, right?
I think we were watching. I think Godzilla versus Megalon maybe was like on, or we were getting there, and then we watched Godzilla's Revenge, and Craig fell asleep.
Yes, 100%. Which going back and revisiting that movie, I'm like, I kind of understand why he fell asleep because it's not.
We'll get there in a little bit.
It might be on my list of movies, Godzilla movies. They're not my favorite. Essentially, it was y'all who kind of ushered me into this, and I'm not afraid of not knowing things about this world and this franchise. It's actually something that I find kind of appealing about it. It's I grew up watching Mystery Science Theater 3000, and Gamera movies used to be on that a lot. That was kind of my introduction at like
7 or 8, I was like, I know we're watching these movies to make fun of them, but I like can't stop thinking about the relationship between Ichi and Gamera and like how special moments of them are. And I would obsess over and think about the characters and the monsters. And it was definitely something that was not part of like, as I grew up, I wasn't like taught about Godzilla, or it's a non-Judeo-Christian like world of divinity and divine creatures. And I find it to be beautiful and really like special. And like I take a moment and respect it. But then there's like so much fun and silliness that goes on, which is so appealing to me. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it does have God in the title. I mean, it is Godzilla.
True.
Yeah, that's true. But like, what a much better entity to like look up to and worship, and what a better like way to respect nature and like the environment. I feel like the messaging is different in Godzilla movies. And for me, just jumping into these movies like I have with basically like just diving right in with y'all two, and then going back to be able to watch them just on my own time, because Craig's not watching these movies with me.
Which makes me angry.
Yeah. I mean,
it makes me mad that he's buying sofubi, but you know, spending good money on it, but he won't watch. He's not seen a Godzilla movie.
Yeah. I know. And like he'll come, this is what he does. He goes in the toy room and he starts organizing and like redoing things. And I put Hedra on, which is one of the movies I've watched recently. And he'll come in every like 20 minutes and be like, I love this movie. I love this. I really like this. I'm like, that's how I know you're not paying attention to anything that's on the screen.
That's amazing. Well, I have a question for you, Abby. So you said like obviously your intro to the kaiju genre was via Mystery Science Theater 3000 and Gamera, and that you didn't really watch it like growing up. And like what, like I know when you started kind of this deep dive into it, but like what spurred it on? Was it truly just like by chance and luck of the draw that, you know, we put on Godzilla versus Megalon and Godzilla's Revenge and whatever, and Jake was in town. I know he probably had a satchel of Godzilla VHSs with him. Was it like, or was there kind of any kind of little desire before that to kind of dive deep into this wacky world of kaiju?
I mean, I don't want to like attribute everything to Jake and
it's
to
okay. You can. We mostly do everything on the show we attribute to Jake, so it's cool.
Yeah, totally. The tattooed Titan. I legitimately like, but by listening to Jake talk on Yes Have Some, like in our early days, you would talk about Godzilla and Stephen King, which I got into. So I realized you're like, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I always liked the like aesthetic of the different monsters, and it because it was a world that I didn't know. I find that exciting because I can dive in on my own and like on my own terms with like no judgment and no one around, especially since Craig's not watching these movies. I had this like, honestly, watching Godzilla versus Megalon and watching Godzilla's Revenge, like something about going back, because I grew up, I was raised on old movies. So something about seeing a movie that was made back in that time where I used to see movies, like in it. So it was a time period I'm familiar, the production quality, etc. But it's nothing I've seen before, and it's gripping, and it's a total pure detachment from reality for like just the sake of having fun. And I really, really like that aspect of watching a Godzilla movie. You don't have to like have a lot of, you can, and I understand that the two of you like will dive really deep into things, but for me personally, it's like I can just watch and let it wash over me and forget reality and really get swept up into a beautiful, imaginative, colorful world with fun characters and good music. Yeah, there was something about that like I was like, this is a nostalgia that I can have, that I can build on now, of things that like I wish that's what I'm all about. Y'all know this. Like I missed out on a lot of stuff in childhood because of homeschool and being raised in a religious family. So when it comes to the stuff that I pull into my life now and that I want to decorate my house with, it's whatever I want it to be, and I'm not going to have anybody stop me, whether it's intimidating bully dudes or gatekeepers, etc. Like that's like, I know I don't know as much as either of you do, but I have the same passion and love when it comes to watching kaiju and seeing and learning about monsters, etc.
Yeah, that's one thing that's really cool that I think, and Jake, you can correct me if you feel differently, but like as us that have seen these movies literally in some cases hundreds of times and been fans of them for decades, like I think we've lost, it's harder for us to go back to that sense of we're just watching them for pure fun. because like, you know, it is that you're right. Like you can, and I think that having that dual purpose that you can watch them just to like for the surface level aesthetic, the action in some cases, the silliness in some cases, the very hit you in the over the head with it, you know, moral type stuff, or you can dive deeper into and get really crazy and have, you know, podcasts where we talk for 3 hours about Matango, right? You can do those things. And I think like as you get older, like, or more into it, like I wish that I still had that kind of that first viewing of any of the Godzilla movies again, because it is like, even though I love them and I enjoy them, I can't just sit there and be like, I'm just watching this for fun. I have to compare it to other movies. I have to, you know, this is what they did wrong. This is my favorite part of it. And I don't know, Jacob, that's
brain.
Exactly right. It's so true. And I think that's where I'm so envious of you, Abby, is that you get to watch a lot of these for the first, second, third, fourth viewing. And it's still that kind of like, it can serve that dual purpose. And that's so cool.
Yes, I understand. It's sad that my childhood was like robbed from me, but it's really cool that I get to have like that first viewing of so many things. It literally
that's a funny. I'm you know, it sucks my childhood was robbed from me, but at least I get to watch Godzilla versus the Smog Monster for the first time.
Hey, the glass is half full. Yes.
Yeah.
Jay, I agree with that to a, you know, a little bit, but also like there are certain movies for me that I'll put on that I do just like Godzilla versus Megalon. I put that on, and I'm not comparing that to anything. I'm not like, I just put that on. I probably watch Godzilla versus Megalon more than any other Godzilla film, and it's not my favorite, but it is to me like the most fun, and it is like. There's nothing, you can't watch Godzilla versus Megalon and critique that movie. It's just, you know what I mean? Silly fun. And it's the one that I watch. And now there are others that I'll put on and I'm just like, well, why'd they do that? Or why didn't they do, you know, like, I mean, we did that whole episode of Space Godzilla recently, and I love Space Godzilla, but it's impossible to watch that and not.
The design's great, but.
Well, I guess maybe Jake on that, like, so go back to Megalon, and I'm curious, Abby, even as a first timer, like, if you watch it, like maybe not even just critiquing, but like, do you never have that itch to be like, pause it and be like, I need to know more about that actor. I need to know why they like that. You can just like watch it and just be like, it kind of like background noise, but in a positive way, like a positive.
Godzilla versus Megalon is perfect.
It's comforting. I'll say that much.
It is. Oh, it's great. You're in safe space with Megalon here. We all have our love of that movie, so that's not one that we'll fight over. No, I just for me, it's like even that film, which is so fun and funny and everything. And you're right. And I don't look at it necessarily with a critical eye, but like, I want to be like, oh, okay, well, Sasaki is actually what's his name? I forgot his first name, but the guy that plays Goro, he's actually the son of the guy that plays Kobayashi in Godzilla Raids Again. And let's go. And I feel like everyone just gets me down a wormhole or rabbit hole. I should say, not a wormhole. That's a totally, this is a sci-fi podcast now, but gets me down a rabbit hole.
Or a sinkhole.
Yeah, no, or sinkhole.
Okay.
Yeah, wait, we're not talking about Godzilla versus Mega Gears here, man. But anyway,
that's my list.
Yeah, please don't. But I don't know. But like I said, net, I wish I could go on and put on Godzilla versus Megalon and be my first viewing of it, because I think that would just be so joyous and amazing. And so I have to live vicariously through people like Abby, I guess.
Yeah. And I welcome you too. Honestly, like it's the best thing to show somebody something. And I remember the weekend that you were here, we drove out to see a Mecha Godzilla that was like on the walkway in Atlanta.
The Mellow Mushroom, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. And like watching the reverence with which Jake and Jay were like, I want to get this picture in front of this Godzilla. And like the hunt for it, I was like, there's something to this. And I didn't know, I don't know, you can come at it at any point and just say, I like the design. I find this entertaining, and this is a great way to spend my time. And it's a positive distraction, like you're saying.
Yeah. Well, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead, Jake. I was at another kind of off-topic question, so please.
I say, like, whenever Jay, when you came down and we watched Godzilla's Revenge, I remember thinking in my head, I was like, fuck, I don't want to watch this movie with Craig and Abby, because like Craig and Abby have heard me talk about Godzilla like since the first time I ever went to Craig and Abby's house.
That's the one that hooked me.
She had a Trendmasters Rodan toy, and Craig was showing me his toy room for the first time. And I walked in and I went straight to that and I picked it up and I'm like, whoa, Trendmasters Rodan. And Abby were both like, yeah, cool. Yeah, that's what that is. Neither one of them knew. So like they've both talk about Godzilla so much. So whenever we were going to sit down and I'm like, finally, these people are going to get to watch a Godzilla movie and kind of get a glimpse of like what Godzilla's Revenge. It's the worst. And I remember just being like, they're going to think
I guess you could say that, but also like it also had stock footage from so many other films. It's like you get to watch all of them at once. So you have that.
Yeah, true. And it's also very disarming watching that movie. I was like, oh, well, these what's there to be afraid of? Like, I know it's a dense world, but it hits that like very like stupid funny part in my brain that I really just I get into.
And guys, guess what? It's also not a Godzilla movie, so you don't have to.
I'm pretty sure. Before we
Godzilla's Revenge isn't.
Pretty sure I'll just listen. But we watch Godzilla versus King? I think Craig through that one, didn't he?
Oh, Jake, you cut out a little bit.
We watched that together.
Yeah, we did.
Am I here?
You're back.
You're back now.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was just saying. I think I don't remember Jay. I don't know if Jay was there or not, but I think we all did sit down and watch Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. I'm pretty sure Craig sat through that as well.
Yeah, and that's the one that did him in. He's like, I never again will I watch one of these. I love the design in that movie. I feel like that's the 1990 early 90s one. Yeah. Okay. That I like some design aspects of that movie, but I understand. It's tough with Craig when it comes to anything like deep sci-fi, old
Let's
sci-fi,
just talk
moving.
Craig's taste in movies while he's not here.
I do. I'm not even going to bring up subtitles, but yeah, there's something about it that I like that though, because it's literally just my world to explore. And then I can talk to you two. And like Jake told me what this was. I've had this since like the early 90s. I used to take this on vacations with me to Florida as a little girl. So yeah, I obviously love. I have always had a love for the design of the. No, I didn't need to know. I love bird designs, and I loved the idea of huge monsters. Was just something that was like fun and completely foreign to me. I don't know if that's the right word. Like it wasn't something I was raised with.
So when you were like starting this deep dive, right? Whatever date that was, and you started watching a few of these films, was there any point that you actually like thought about stopping and like, no, I'm good. Like, this is good. Or were there any kind of like, I guess, resistance to continuing on, like kind of watching it? Or was there a movie that was like, okay, I'm done?
This one's the end.
Yeah.
You'd think it would have been Godzilla's Revenge, but that was the beginning.
Not a Godzilla movie. Does not take place in the world of Godzilla.
Right. It's a
only
dream.
Dream sequences.
Dream sequences. Okay. I'd have to say, honestly, the only thing that kind of, because I got really heavy into buying Godzilla tapes and on VHS over like last winter time. I think I might have gone a little bit too hard. Then I needed to kind of like, I'd take it back down because I just would watch like a large quantity. I remember in particular while I was sick for a couple weeks and it was just like Godzilla. This is a great, fantastic place for my mind to go when my body feels sick. So there was like a major consumption that took place over like December, January, February of this past year. And then I guess I'm trying to think what brought me back in. We went to a little kaiju pop-up when we were in Chicago very recently. And that kind of brought some life back into my interest in my collection. Anytime I see like sofubi and see the toys, it ignites that like interest back within me. And the fact that I don't have there's no rules when it comes to like the toys. And that's what I've had some of the dealers, the dealer in our the last place we were in Chicago, like mentioned. He was like, hey, you don't have to, you made some good choices here. You're picking out some good stuff. It doesn't matter that you don't really know exactly what's going on with these. These are good pieces. They'll appreciate very nice taste. And I was like, oh, that's a
of course the dealer's going to say that.
I know.
These are good. You make great choices. Give me the money.
Yeah.
You're right. Like you have taste. I'm like, I do have taste. But I do. I really like the stuff that I bought, and I like knowing y'all because you can inform me like further on what exactly it is that I have.
Let's see what you got. You got it with you. Let's go ahead. I usually do like Jay. Do you have pickups this week?
Oh yeah, I do.
Okay.
I don't have a ton, but I have some heavy hitters this week.
Yeah.
Well then let's go. Let's do pickups, then we'll get back to. I don't have anything this week, so let's talk about some Abby stuff, and then we'll see what Jay's got.
Cool.
Cool.
What you got?
What have I got? Well, I already showed you all this, Rodan.
Right.
Jake is about to get so mad at me because this is not canon to anything, but I did have this out on my desk.
Not a Godzilla toy.
Don't quit the show, Jake.
It's
fine. It's okay for me to like it.
I love
it.
Sure.
Like what I like.
Hey, Abby,
somebody sent this to us.
I think that's
the
just
rules aren't strict here.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I think that's just like a Chinese knockoff toy. Yeah, they make a lot. You can tell they did. So
That's
they did make some like knockoff Godzillas. It's supposed to be. I'm trying to look if I have. You know what? Pull up your next toy, and I'm gonna grab something.
Sure. This is Godzilla Jr. Little Godzilla from.
That's Minya.
Is this just regular? Okay, so I was literally kind of. Is there any difference between Minya and Godzilla Jr.? Is it all one and the same because of the different movies?
Hold on, I'm coming back for this conversation.
Okay. I wrote that.
I was about to jump in,
question.
but I'll let Jake chime in on
okay.
Minya versus
Okay, so the
baby
thing
versus
is that
little versus
right. So Minya or Manila, they call. I don't know why they call him that sometimes. That's like the baby Godzilla from the Showa era. So like the older movies, that is based on a puppet and Final Wars. But then when you get to so in the 90s, is it Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla? There is a baby Godzilla, and he's like human sized. And in the next movie, he's a little bit older, and which is Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. He's older. He looks different. So then instead of calling him Baby Godzilla, he is now Little Godzilla. And then in the next film, he's even older and he looks more like Godzilla. And then they call him Godzilla Jr. So Baby Godzilla, Little Godzilla, and Godzilla Jr. are the same creature. Minya,
Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
That exactly. And then Minya is the older Baby Godzilla.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you for explaining that. I appreciate
You're welcome.
it.
That was fun. I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
I was just gonna show you talking about bootleg toys. This is
this is a two-eyed Gigan.
This is like a famous bootleg Gigan. He's got two eyes. His little claws are in the wrong way. He's got two fingers instead of one big thing. And I remember getting this at like a fair. This was made in Hong Kong. I remember fairs would always have these
Imperial, right?
It is Imperial, I think.
Yeah.
And then you would see these a lot. And I remember the first time I got this, I like won it as a prize at a fair. And I have a few different ones and they're painted differently. But I remember being like, it was when I was too young to know what bootlegs were. And I was like, well, it looks like Gigan. Like, what is it? And I used to think that maybe this was related to Gigan and he was in a movie that I hadn't seen yet. And I was always like trying to find the movie with the two-eyed Gigan in it. But then I found out what bootlegs were when I got a little older. And this is like a famous Godzilla bootleg.
No. And you'll see the Godzilla without the spikes on it as well, without the dorsal spines.
Yeah, I have one of those in here.
Yep. Absolutely.
Cool.
That's a good pickup, though.
What else do you got, Abby?
Cool. This is one of the, well, actually, I'll show you. Before I moved on to the really cool Mothra, I got this Mothra when I was it's just like a Bandai, I think.
Bandai,
just struck my eye, saw it in Full Circle Toys, and I put this on top of my Christmas tree this year. I have a connection with Mothra. Like I vibe. The transformation and the evolution and like the beauty of this creature, I think is really fantastic.
Well, I mean, you are the shoguness of the Shobajin, so I expect nothing less.
Yes, thank you, you.
That's that version of Mothra is one of the best kaiju. Period. I like Rainbow Mothra.
That's what I was gonna say. It's Rainbow Mothra. Yeah. Now this is a different Mothra, not Rainbow Mothra.
No, I mean, you would think that because of the colors, but Rainbow Mothra is specifically the one you just had. This is classic Mothra, but with a giant head.
Okay.
A little history about this toy right here. So that guy is when Marasan, which is one of the first toy companies in Japan, like post-war, they did a lot of die-cast and tin toys, and they eventually evolved into sofubi or soft vinyl toys. They got the Subaraya license. They did a lot of Ultra Kaiju, and they had about 6 or 7 Godzilla property toys that they were a license that they were able to make. Mothra was one of those. So originally, I think that original Mothra came out like 1967. It was blue. They did a couple other colorways. So then in 1992, Bandai did a 1-year kind of paying homage to the old school sofubi of Marusan and Bullmark and Popey. And what they did was they took that sculpt and that blue colorway and made it into a Bandai. So that's the 92 reimagining of an old Marusan sculpt. Jake, I think you have like the Megalon from that year. That was the a Bullmark.
Yep.
They did the same thing. It was only for 1 year that Bandai decided to do that, but it's a beautiful piece. And you know, you don't have to drop the $500-600 you would to get the original Marusan vintage one. And it's maybe you did. I don't want to assume.
No, I was really proud of myself for dropping $100 on it. I was like, look what I just casually bought. I got to barge. It's contagious. Thank you for the info on this. I was kind of hoping I could do that. Just be like,
I've sold that one a couple times. I sold that one a couple times on Toku Toy Town. I've bought it a couple times. And it's a one that everybody always buys. It's a cool piece, and it's just neat. Yeah,
I love the big facial features and everything.
Yeah,
the size of it. It's beautiful.
And that's one of the things about early sofubi is that, you know, the idea of action figures, you think about the early, like the first ever like G.I. Joe, like action figures and dolls and stuff, they were still relatively new. And so it was a real gamble from Japan for them to create monsters as toys, because everything at that time was like role-playing toys, right? You wanted, you know, for cowboys and Indians, Native Americans, you know, you wanted the cap guns, you wanted the, you know, wanted that stuff. And so Marusan took a leap of faith to create that. But one of the parts that they had to really work on was they didn't want to scare the little kids with these monsters. So they made them bigger features and softer edges, and the paint jobs were a little less, you know, realistic, because they wanted to appeal to kids. And then it just
based on the real monsters.
Yeah, did it do that? All right. Then it just became this huge cultural phenomena over there, to where even like the Emperor of Japan's children collected sofubi monsters, kaiju sofubi from Marusan and stuff. So there's a reason they had the big features and the fun paint.
That's very interesting. Yeah. I'm like drawn to the big features and the bright colored paint, and it's probably that's what got me.
Well, that's what a lot of people are drawn to sofubi for, and that's something that me and Jay have talked about a lot. I used to not like that, because I would always want to buy the Godzilla toys that look like Godzilla, and I used to get kind of annoyed when they were like, I would see a sofubi and I'm like, why the fuck is it purple, or why is it like, that's not what it looks like. I'm not going to spend $200 on a toy that doesn't look anything like it does in the movie. But now it's like I love both. So it's like you kind of learn there's different ways people come into it. So
exactly. And I think that's another like a attractive piece of this whole world, is that the sofubi itself, the fact that there's all those variations, it makes it like limited and rare, and it also feels like a form of art that you can like just look through. I don't know what the book was, Jake, that you lent me one time. It has like huge collection. It's something that really anyone can get into, but for me in particular, like it's the appreciation of what went into it, the history. I think that's fascinating. And I like that you can just kind of buy your way into it as you do without.
It's not like, you know, modern toy lines where it's like Marvel Legends and it's like, okay, well, the new line of Marvel Legends is out. It's just like random shit is out all the time. And it's like, it's impossible to collect all of it, so you just pick and choose and buy what you want, and it's like kind of more it's less stressful that way. Because you're just like, oh, I'm gonna get this and I'll get this and like fuck that thing. But
100%.
There's no reason to be a completionist. You can't complete anything.
You can't. It's impossible. It's not gonna happen unless it's a super small little unless you're Jay and you're just gonna buy the 7 of the one you know,
the bio
Gojis that you're getting.
I have 7 now. I think I need 12. To finish that one off or something. But yes, that's like I was saying, but even that is one company, Modern Marusan, one line, Marusan 350, one like got Kaiju Godzilla, then 1 year, one suit design of that Kaiju 1989. So like it's still like you have to get really deep. I mean, it's truly nuts to think about that. And then like, because if I wanted to do Godzilla 54, I could do Marusan 350, 1954, and have another 12 to go.
Right.
Yeah, but that's something that I love about it. The collectability of it being an unending search without pressure for really any outside force but myself, just what I like at my own pace. And that's what I enjoy about it.
Yeah, for sure.
What else you got? Anything else? Yeah,
totally. I'm not sure who this is. I got this.
Twin Tail.
Twin Tail.
Twin Tail. So cute. Just one of those designs that got me. I love the like kind of placid. Like
He's very like derpy looking. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, dude.
one thing I know, Abby. I know.
It's the derpiest face.
That's derpy.
That's why I like it.
Am I allowed to say that? I don't know.
I don't even know what it means.
Just like derp.
But it
Yeah.
makes sense.
Maybe I should.
I don't
You know,
know.
like when you take a high school, like a class photo, and you're like, derp.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There you
exactly.
go. It's okay.
Abby, I don't know if you've actually seen any Ultraman, but like one thing about all the Ultraman kaiju is they are all insane looking, and it's like and I think part of it is because Ultraman was a show and it was coming on, I guess, weekly or whatever at the time, so it was like kind of Power Ranger ish, and they were like putting together monster suits really quick, but they are the craziest looking, weirdest monsters you'll ever see, and that's one of them. So
Yeah. And I think that's a path I want to go down.
I think you got him at you got him at one of those toy shows in Atlanta, right? Where we didn't you also buy a bunch of was where we got the puppets, little
fingies?
Bunch of finger puppets, yep.
Little fingies.
Yep, all Ultraman. Yep.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that. Very
And
cool.
when I posted these on my Instagram, I remember Jay, you were like immediately responding and informing me like what I purchased. And I love that. Well,
I'm not the biggest Ultraman. I mean, I love Ultraman, but I don't know as much. It's hard because there's been so many series.
Yeah.
I do love the 66, and that's what I've been rewatching over the last few nights and stuff. But yeah, there's some really cool kaiju, and it's still Subaraya, so it's still the special effects director from obviously Godzilla. So you'll see a lot of the Baragon and Godzilla suits will be
a little bit of crossover,
exactly. And there's some really cool stuff, and some of them are falling apart because they're on a shoestring budget. But it really, we talk about Godzilla so much, but Ultraman is way bigger culturally in Japan than Godzilla, and Ultraman is so huge and it birthed really what we think of as like the Henshin hero, or the heroes that change. So without Ultraman, there's no Kamen Rider, there's no Super Sentai / Power Rangers, there's no Fireman, there's no all of those great tokusatsu shows. I mean, Ultraman's the man, and his kaiju I still think the Ultra kaiju, especially in those early seasons, are some of the best because they are just absurd and they're amazing.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I get into.
And
I
it's
like
fun.
the sound of that.
Yeah, fun but formulaic, but fun.
Yeah,
we'll get you some Ultraman. We'll get you some Ultraman to watch.
Yeah, I think that
next year
fun.
we'll do New Year, new to Ultraman.
Ultraman.
We have a year to catch up.
Hey,
you have a year.
I'll be on that one too because I haven't seen a ton of it. There's so much Ultraman. I've been buying it. They've been putting it out like in the steel books. And I've been trying to keep up with them as they come out, but I haven't watched them all. There's just so much of it.
There's so much content. Yeah,
I've seen the original first. Other than that, just random episodes here and there.
What else you got, Debbie?
Oh, I have one last piece.
Cool.
Which
this
is
look at that.
This is I don't know how this fits in, but Jake, I know you know all about these. Do you? I got this at Catherine from YHS sent this to me.
Catherine got you that one? Okay.
Yeah.
It's like
really it's like
that reminds me of like Lemonade.
It does, pink lemonade.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm matching it right now.
Those are really cool. The Nagoras, I've been picking those up and showing them off here every time I get them. So whoever's watching this knows about those Nagoras because we definitely talk about those. But that's a good little collection to start with. You got some stuff. You got a good bit of VHS and stuff like that too. So
yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
And VHS, I feel like the Godzilla VHSs, the artwork is always great. And there's so many releases because the distribution for the US ones changed so much that you'll have like 3 or 4 different art or cover variants for these old VHSs, and some of them are just so bad, and some of them are amazing.
Yeah, and a lot of the times I got a ton of VHS that will have monsters on the cover that aren't in that movie.
Just aren't even there.
Yeah, it will be like Godzilla versus Megalon, and it will have Mechagodzilla on the cover or something.
Seems like you won't notice.
But my favorite is there's the Godzilla versus the sea monster one that is it's just a close up picture of Godzilla from Godzilla 1985.
85,
I'm like, 20 years late there, brother. 20 years.
Dude, that's the best.
I'm like, no.
It's
Now,
a gift in and of itself.
would it be cool to see Godzilla from Godzilla 1985 fight Ebra? Yes. Sign me up for that. But,
I'd watch another Ebra.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of Ebra.
Yes.
I have an Ebra in my pickups this week.
Whoa, you did that on purpose.
I know.
Nice.
Let's see what you got. Let's see it. Let's see what you got.
We'll hold off on Ebra. So,
okay.
Abby, like I said, we have less rules here. It's collectibles. It doesn't have to be toys. And we'll even give everybody a couple passes on non-kaiju because I'm going to show off one that's non-kaiju. But it's sofubi, and it's from an independent sofubi artist and company that produced some of the best kaiju toys, including some cat kaiju. It's kind of the other, what's that one's called?
Nagora,
not Nagora, but the other one, and that is Max Toy Co. Mark Nagata, who is an amazing artist. He has the Subaru license, so he does some really cool Ultramans and some Ultra Kaiju. But I picked up one, so I'm a huge fan of Big Trouble in Little China. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Jack Burton is my hero. He's my spirit animal. And one of the actors in there, and he's in 1,000 other ones, is Gerald Okamura. He's known as the man of many weapons because he's in every martial arts movie ever, every action movie. And he has a license for his likeness. Mark Nagata does at Max Toyco, and he releases these Gerald Okamura sofubi. And so I picked one up, but I didn't pick up just a normal one. I picked up, because he's Hawaiian, I picked up the Spam variant. So this is Gerald Okamura, comes with a little can of Spam, and his colorway is our Spam color. So this is
fantastic.
This is one of my favorite of all time because, like I said, I love the actor, represent the movie, and like I said, because in Hawaii, Spam's the food of Hawaii. Yeah. So it is amazing. And it comes with also like a sticker. It's a Spam can with his face on it, so it's pretty amazing. So that's the first one.
I love the weird stuff.
Okay, the other one is weird, but it goes into a realm that I'm passionate about, and I know you guys could care less about, or couldn't care less about, excuse me, as I use proper English. But I'm a huge baseball fan, and it's huge in Japan, right? And so Godzilla was the moniker of one of the great baseball icons over there, Hideki Matsui, who played for the New York Yankees over here. And so they do a lot of crossover with Godzilla and Hideki Matsui. And so I found a Yomiuri Giants, or Tokyo Giants, if you will, Godzilla in his Hideki Matsui Yomiuri Giants jersey.
I love that.
And I absolutely adore this because it is a cool crossover mashup of two of my favorite things, which are Japanese baseball from the Nippon Professional Baseball League and of course Godzilla. So very cool piece there. And then going on to the kind of the big heavy hitters. So I hit 3 huge Marmot toys that I'm like stoked about, but I got one in today that I think, I don't know. It's one that I wasn't expecting to love as much as I do, but I'm so glad I got it. And Jake will appreciate this one from a recent kaiju, it's a parody film called Death Kappa. And it's from an independent sofubi manufacturer. I think it's called Shikaruna. It is a glow in the dark Death Kappa. So here he is. And he has this like dirt painted on, and it's just he has a great glow. There's this little the little metal plate on his head. Doesn't come with a cucumber,
got
though.
Like a Friar Tuck thing going on.
Oh yeah. But it's obviously Kappa are huge in Japan. In that movie, of all the comedy parodies, so when you think of Death Kappa and you think of Monster X Strikes Back, and you think of Rego, or it's not really Rego, but Raiga and Raiga versus King Oga, I think Death Kappa is one of the stronger ones of that weird subgenre of a subgenre. And I absolutely love this toy. And, they don't.
That is
none of the major.
Toy.
Yeah, none of the major.
I love it. It's got like a goblin-esque feel to it. It's so fun. It's just.
It's just the both of the creatures in Death Kappa are super well designed. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh yeah.
I'm jealous of that one.
The shell on the back, it's very cool.
Oh yeah. So the other 3 are all Marmots, and they are all really cool. So I collect. I have the brown and the orange Marmot Anguirus, and Jake, you remember these are the real clunky ones. They're kind of really upright. They're. I mean, there's something almost like off-putting about them, but I love them. So I have the brown and the orange one. But they had also released, so wacky, a clear translucent blue. And so I picked this guy up.
Oh my God.
And
That's
to complete
beautiful.
the trio. So the three brothers are reunited here. And everybody knows I love Anguirus. He's my favorite kaiju. He never wins
That's
anything.
so funny.
Yeah.
But I
my
love
cat
him.
Gizmo.
Yeah, I mean, his name could be Gizmo. I mean,
Yeah.
Jay,
Under the bed, not doing much.
not doing much.
Something just struck me, and I want to ask you about it. So,
Yes, sir.
Those older, so like they have Anguirus standing upright, which he never does in any movie.
No.
And I always thought it was so weird that that's how he is for the Trendmasters toys as well.
Yeah, he is.
The Trendmasters Anguirus, he's like muscled up.
He's
he
ripped.
looks
He's on
mean,
roids.
he's ripped, and he's standing upright. And I always thought it was really stupid, but now, like, thinking about the fact that some of the sofubi are like that, it almost feels like they did it on purpose now. It's like, like, were the Trendmasters people like, hey, you know what? Well, this is kind of a tribute to the old. Probably not.
Probably not.
But
I don't know, but
popped in my head.
Yeah, the original Bullmark sculpt is standing up. And I think that was just probably because it was maybe a little bit easier to sell and display items. I don't know. That's a guess. But as far as from a Trendmasters, I have no idea why they did it. They just probably were like, hey, I mean, they gave Biollante legs, so I don't know.
I gotta, one of my I didn't put it on our list, but they did. There's a Trendmasters Megalon, but it's like harder to find.
Yeah.
I want it. I'm gonna get that Trendmasters.
And they did that in Varan, and
I got Varan. I have a Varan somewhere, but Varan was a little more rare. I think there was one more too. Oh, there's a Baragon, which I also have. So.
Oh,
that's amazing. I mean,
like
your
Baragon.
Trendmasters collection is legit, dude.
Yeah.
I got a lot. There's so much of it.
So this is another one that going to Ebra that I have noticed from afar, and it doesn't pop up a lot. This is one of my favorite colorways of any sofubi item I have. And it's nothing too wacky. There's no glitter or glow in the dark, anything like that. It's not translucent. But Ebra, I mean, he's just a giant lobster, shrimp, whatever he is, crustacean. But this is cool. So at first glance, pretty normal, pretty red, whatever. But look at this, yellow and blue. This is how he should have been painted in the movie. This is one of my favorite new pieces. I absolutely love this. This is the best. I think this is the best colorway of Mr. Ebra ever.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
He looks better there than he does in the movie.
Oh, for sure.
Like the warm to cool colors.
I'm watching that movie tonight.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. Have you seen Abby? Have you seen that one?
No, it's on my list actually of movies that I want to see.
So, Jake, when we talked before the show or last week, I was putting together some ideas for this year. And I was thinking about picking a couple movies that are usually not loved within the Godzilla franchise and doing, hey, can Jake and Jay defend these? And one of them was Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. Yeah. Because it's so, people don't, I mean, there's obviously the history because it was supposed to be a King Kong movie, but there's also the like, as a heist type of non-kaiju, is it good? And the kaiju stuff, does it kind of bog it down? There's a lot of conversations to be had on that movie. I think it's a fun watch, Abby. You should totally check it out.
For sure.
Awesome. I will find it tonight.
And then the last thing I got is I'm saving it for last because I don't know if we should ring a bell or something. It's my first one to scratch off the wish list.
Oh my God.
The top 10 wish list.
Already.
Episode we had already.
First episode of the year and you've bought something off your wish list.
So,
dude, nice.
Marmot, re-released by Medicom with the paint job for May. And speaking of Trendmasters, I love that these colorways they called Godzilla Wars because they're kind of wacky like a Trendmasters when those same kind of blues and yellows and stuff. Yeah. This is one of my favorite kaiju designs, Batra Larva in the Godzilla Wars colorway. Ooh. This is one of my favorites. He was on my wish list for a long time. I've absolutely fell in love with this guy first time I saw him, and I was so glad to get him at a reasonable price. And like I said, this is one that, no regrets. I got him like, yes, I feel like more complete as a human being now.
That's beautiful.
And also
no regrets ever with purchasing things.
You can't. This one's interesting because wacky colorway, obviously definitely saw final, but a pretty screen accurate sculpt. I mean, like this is very realistic looking. And so I think that's kind of cool.
That's very different. That's very weird that it's like that. It's all point. There's a lot of points happening on there.
There's a lot of points.
Very pointy.
Your eye out in multiple places.
Absolutely.
You can. So, Absolutely love this guy.
Congratulations, Jay.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Got to work on
Yeah.
another one now. I mean, now it's old news. Got to work on another one.
No, I'm behind. Great.
Yeah.
I was expecting you to pull out the Cloverfield this week. I mean, drop a couple grand.
It's not happening probably ever.
But yes, so I had a pretty big week of Marmot.
Yeah,
and
good.
I love it. But yeah. Spam, Death Kappa, and Marmot. That was my
Great pickup.
Spam, Death Kappa, Marmot.
Hello, YHS listeners and YHS on Monster Island listeners, to be specific. I hope you're enjoying Jake and I's interview with Abbey, our new to Kaiju episode. It's awesome. And we're going to get back to it in a second. But we wanted to interrupt it because we have not only a special guest, but he's here to talk about a really special project within the Kaiju community. So you might remember him from the Kaiju All-Star sofubi Jamboree. He's my guy for Sentai, and he is the prodigal son of Hurricane, West Virginia, Mr. Michael Hamilton of Kaiju Ramen and Kaiju Weekly and the Power Trip podcast and just a whole heck of a lot of things. How's it going, Michael? Welcome to YHS on Monster Island.
You know, guys, it's so much fun. Like I've been looking forward to this conversation all day.
Awesome.
You know, you guys are a ton of fun. And I have to say that the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is not a kaiju.
Let's do it.
He's coming in hot.
That is more of a yokai, in my opinion. But that's just me. That's just me.
That's an acceptable answer. I think we went back and forth with that, but
we'll
give it to you.
I think where we netted out, it was I think it was a kami that is not a communist, but a kami as in a Japanese god that was in the form of a kaiju. But we did have yokai in the considerations. But hey, everybody go back and listen to that episode. Don't listen to us now on that.
Right. No, that's that's what I'm referencing, that episode, because I was listening to the episode the other day in the car, and I was just having such a blast with it, and I was arguing back and forth with Jake. Like, no, that is not right. Like, that is not right. Do not speak out of turn, Jake, about things you don't understand.
Well, I love during the recording, like Jake is like, "This is the nerdiest episode I think I've ever done." We're just like, "Yeah, pretty much." But speaking of nerdy, let's get right down to it, man. Here you are. You're on the show. You're coming here to talk about what I think is one of the coolest Kickstarter projects that I've seen recently in the kaiju world. But just it's important because it's a really cool thing that you and your buddy, who's not here today, had a long, huge intro for Travis built up and planned out, because he is the Takeshi Hongo of the Delta. He is Mississippi's Masked Rider, Travis Alexander. I miss him, man. But anyway, I know you guys are doing some great stuff. So right off the bat, we would just love for you to give us a kind of a 30,000-foot view, and then we're going to dive into all the good stuff. So just let us know, why are you here today?
That is okay. So I'm here to talk about Kaiju Ramen magazine, specifically Kaiju Ramen Volume 1. And the reason I say Volume 1 is because we have had four very successful issues this year, starting with a very humble issue 1, and it's just kind of built momentum up over the year. And so basically we are a quarterly magazine, quarterly digital magazine, because we are primarily digital right now. Maybe that'll change in the future. Who knows? A quarterly digital magazine that celebrates the kaiju genre and basically the fans who really love it. Like, Kaiju Ramen magazine birthed out of an idea from Travis. Like, I cannot take full credit for Kaiju Ramen magazine. In fact, I jokingly say that I was not on board since day one. Travis came to me with the idea, and he's like, "Hey, what if we started a magazine?" And I said, "You're crazy. Go back to bed." Like, I don't want to do that. But like, the more Travis's thing is where he gets so enthusiastic about things, you can't help but be enthusiastic with him. Mm-hmm. And so the more he was just kind of explaining it to me, the concept behind it, I'm like, well, gosh darn it. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on this podcast, but gosh darn it, that actually may work.
It's a requirement. Yeah.
It's a requirement.
Okay.
Yeah. You have a quota to hit.
Well, all right, Godzilla, damn it. That actually may work. So that it kind of just started really humble, as just like a humble idea. We were kind of kicking back and forth, like, how are we going to fund this thing? Because like, publishing a magazine, for those who don't know, is friggin' expensive, which is why we primarily went digital first. And we said, okay, so let's start a Kickstarter. Let's do a Kickstarter with a goal of, say, $900. That'll fund us like issue 1. Okay, so so we published the Kickstarter, and to our surprise, we got almost $3,000 with that
Wow.
first Kickstarter.
That's awesome, man.
And we realized very quickly that we had sort of, I don't know if we'd caught lightning in a bottle, but we had been next to the lightning bolt, standing there with a bottle. Is pretty close as
Right.
it's about as close as we were to it. And just the more people we got to talk to, the more interested folks became in the idea, because at that time, the primary publication, of course, is GFan.
Mhm.
And we won't go into that. We'll just leave that. We'll leave that sleeping dog where it needs to go to sleep.
Fine.
Jake's signing off now. That's the only reason he joined.
That's the only reason. That's the only reason Jake's here, is so he can rag on GFan. But anyway, so we started this. We started this magazine with the idea that we wanted to make something that fans actually cared about, like fans actually cared about, like you,
Mhm.
me, Jake, all of us. We just we're all fans at heart. Like no matter how quote unquote famous we get, how much YouTube celebrity we get, we're still basically fans at heart. And so we wanted to make a magazine with that same spirit in mind, because we felt like that was what was lacking in the marketplace, not to use too corporate language, whatever, you know all about that, Jake.
Yeah.
And all about, I should say, you should know about that, Jay, because I know you're involved heavily in corporate America, but
Thanks. Call me out. I'm the man, everybody.
You
I'm the
dirty
man.
capitalist. So you can cut that out if you want to. It's fine.
No, keep it in there. That's not how YHS and Monster Island works. No.
No edits.
No edits.
So we started that magazine just with the idea of the fans in mind, man. It's really just, honestly, it started as a fart of an idea and turned into something people actually cared about, which, blows my friggin' mind, honestly.
That's awesome, man. And I've been fortunate enough to read all the episodes, or read all the issues since when it's amazed me right out of the gate. You guys are getting like really great content producers to write articles, to submit artwork, and whatever it might be. I mean, you have articles with David Dobko and Chris McDonald, all these like big name guys within, whether it's podcasting or YouTubing or collecting or whatever. I mean, I was just amazed. I think that's really, at least, from a sample size of one, when it's like, okay, it's another kaiju magazine, they're coming out. Okay, I get GFan's been what it is for the last 30 years. But I was like, holy cow, I recognize these names. These are well-written articles. The magazine is gorgeous. It only gets more beautiful and gorgeous as they've gone on. I've just been really, really impressed. I'm curious, Jake, what, as you first kind of started hearing about it and reading about it, what were some of your initial thoughts, besides you hated it? I mean, it's Jake.
No,
that's your shtick, right?
It's fine. No, if Jake hates it, that's fine. I think he's wrong, but it's fine. It's fine to be wrong. It's cool. Like, everyone has their opinion, even if it's the wrong opinion. It's fine.
Obviously, no, that's not. Thank you, Jay. Clearly, no. No, I think it's really cool, man, and I think it says a lot about the community in general that you came with this idea kind of, out of your head, out of a place of love, and built this thing, and just it seems that just everybody's behind it, kind of 100%, and it's something that you can tell that maybe everybody's a little starved for, and now it's happening, and it's happening in such a good, kind-hearted feeling way, and it's just like, it feels like a party. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it really is. It really is just an acknowledgement of the fans in this genre, because like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head, Jake, when you said that people were starved for it. And I didn't realize how hungry people were for something like this, because I just thought like the publications that were already out there were enough for to keep people satisfied. And one of the reasons why we wanted to start something like this is one of my favorite magazines. It was Famous Monsters of Filmland, and they closed their doors in 2020. Yep. And that was really a hard blow to me as a longtime reader of that publication. And this is sort of my personal little love letter to things like Fangoria and Famous Monsters of Filmland, and to a degree even G-Fan, because like we can crack jokes about G-Fan all day long, and there are some merits to those, but honestly, like I was telling you guys off cast, like Kaiju Ramen magazine wouldn't exist without publications like G-Fan, because they kind of paved the way for things like Kaiju Ramen to exist. And luckily, we've kind of caught fire with it, and people seem to really very much behind it.
Yeah, and it's funny. You're right. We all kind of can rag on it or whatever. But at the end of the day, if you asked most of us, like, what magazine have you read the most in your entire life? A large percentage of us would be like G-Fan, probably.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it's we're cool. We're cool with that. But I honestly, Michael, one thing I think you and Travis have done, and you've done this, I think, a little bit with the podcast Kaiju Weekly. We can talk about that at the end as well, because I know that's so important. But I view Kaiju Ramen, it's almost like a bridge, because how, Jake and I always talked about on our show how for so long we just as individual fans have been kind of on the fringe of the Kaiju community. We are not people that go to G-Fest. We have not really got involved with a lot of these like organizations or podcasts or content producers. But so I feel like Kaiju Ramen has been kind of that one singular touch point that
it's accessible.
Exactly.
The word you're looking for is accessible.
Yeah, like the fans of Collect All Monsters, or the old Kaiju Cast fans, or Monsters versus Men, or Kaiju Weekly. It's like, why just on Monster Island? I feel like all of us have this one similarity, this one touchstone, and I hope that you guys continue to be that, because it's really just a breath of fresh air and really accessible to all these little kind of micro fandoms within this greater Kaiju community.
Yeah, and it's like it's like I said, we just recently got featured in the Phaser Media on their online publication as part of an interview series that they're doing, and I reached out to their team and said, hey, can we do an interview with you guys? And they were happy to say yes. And in that interview, I said, I'm trying to remember exactly what I said, but we want to be like the singular point of positivity for this fandom, because I think the question was like, how is the Godzilla, or how's the Kaiju fandom changed over the past year, how has it changed? And I said, in 2020 and 2021, or early 2020, I would say it was pretty unified, because we were all enjoying the same thing. We were all on lockdown. It was a fun time. We were doing live streams together, but after a while, it became very cliquish. We'll say that, and it became very cliquish, and everyone kind of spread out into their own little cliques and their own little factions and whatnot. And we just want Kaiju Ramen to be a place where, like you said, a touchstone, a place that kind of brings other Kaiju fans together, because we really are trying to pull from a wide spectrum of opinions, of lifestyles, of viewpoints, just everything we can pull from, just to give fans an outlet to write about the things they enjoy. Like we had one of the best articles I read out of our magazine was one by Mr. Eric Neely of the Monsters vs. Men podcast. And he wrote about his experience going from not respecting this genre at all to becoming a super fan, along with his co-host Alex Cornett. And that was such a fascinating article. The name of the article escapes me. It was in issue 1. It was one of the more popular ones in that first issue. And it was really interesting to read his progression from, these are just schlocky guy in rubber suit films, to like, no, these films really have something to say. Like, there is depth here. And that was just
except Godzilla versus Megaguirus. That sucks.
Oh, come on. Oh, see, you're not the only person I've heard this week bitch about Godzilla versus Megaguirus.
We don't like it.
We don't know. That's a prerequisite to be on our show. Is like you have to show us how much you ate it. Anyway, sorry. I need to leave then. I need to leave then, sir.
Let's
glad he didn't watch that first, because then he would have been like, yeah, this is a bunch of schlocky crap.
Next.
Yeah. What other type of genre of the movies do you like? But hey, I have to say, Mike, so as we record this, which is on a Monday night, you guys are only about, you're close to the finish line, a handful of $100 away from hitting your goal. So like, let's talk to our fans who may or may not be aware of Kaiju Ramen, and how can they back it, and kind of what is kind of the ask from the fans to back it, and what are all the goodies and all the stuff that we're so used to loving from Kickstarter campaigns. So talk to us about Volume 1 and all kind of the good details.
Well, volume 1 will serve sort of as a director's cut for the magazine. We wanted to take all of the articles that we had written before because, well, let me back up. Like, since issue 1, we've been asked over and over and over, like, when are you going to reprint? Well, when are you going to reprint? When are you going to reprint? And for anyone who's not aware, it is incredibly expensive to print physical copies of a magazine. We did not realize how money intensive that is until we started getting involved with this. But so, we're still a 2-man shop. It's just me and Travis. We just brought on a web editor, Brandon from the Fake Nerds podcast. He's so gracious to help us out. But that's it. It's basically just a 2-man and sometimes a 3-man team. And, the reason why you would want to back Kaiju Ramen, if I could talk to the YHS fans out there, the reason why you would want to back it is just to support small creators. First and foremost, like you guys coming, I was listening to your conversation. I think it was a couple of weeks ago when you were talking about like boutique sofubi shops and these independent manufacturers for toys and these things that we love and adore. Like it's that same spirit. It's that same kind of maker, independent creator spirit. But we're trying to grow and scale to a point where we can be a G fan. We can be a famous Monsters of Filmland, because one of the goals is, if we can, raise enough money or get enough interest this year, hopefully we can spin that into an actual physical subscription that people have been clamoring for, where instead of just printing a sort of a limited run of physical issues, and when they sell out, they sell out. Like, that's just sort of how we've been operating, and we've been successful in that. But it's disappointing that I can't get this magazine into the hands of every single person that wants it, like, at least in physical form. So the reason why you would back Kaiju Ramen on Kickstarter is to support, first of all, just a small shop, just trying to do something nice for the fandom. Speaking of extras, I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, but we partnered with Matt Frank, who, if you guys don't know who Matt Frank is, you've been living under a rock for about 20 years. But we partnered with Matt Frank, who is a fantastic artist. He is a super professional guy to work with. Like, Matt is probably one of the best people I've had to work with as far as like art direction and things of that nature go in my career. And he was willing to come on board. There he is. There's that happy boy. He was willing to come on board and help us out and do a cover for us for this collected issue. And so, I mean, you're going to get this, you're going to get posters, you're going to get a ramen bowl with chopsticks because it just felt appropriate.
That's awesome.
You're going to get, stickers and some extra things, t-shirts and whatnot. You're going to get the usual things that you would expect from a Kickstarter campaign, but you're also going to get some articles that we actually have held on to, not because we've wanted to hold on to them. It's just simply because we just didn't have the room for them in these other 4 issues. And so when I mentioned early on that, Kaiju Ramen Volume 1 was going to be sort of this director's cut sort of thing, like, we're going to put articles in the magazine that we've been holding on to that we just didn't have room for. And so you will get that extra content too, not just a reprint of all the same old issues that we've done before. And we've actually learned a lot too, as far as like design and layout goes. So I'm personally going back through issue 1 and redoing that one from the ground up as far as design, just bring it more in line with the design language that we've had for issues 2 through 4. But like, I want to repeat, the main reason why you would support something like this is if you love like boutique, one-of-a-kind items, then support Kaiju Ramen, this Kaiju Ramen Volume 1 on Kickstarter, because the only way to get this thing is through Kickstarter. So this is essentially a Kickstarter exclusive, and that is just our way to make this as special as we can make it for the fans who really, really appreciate what we're doing. And it's basically just to say thank you for everyone who supported us this last year.
I think that's very
awesome,
cool.
man.
And I think, first of all, like, a large percent of our audience is probably the collectible type, so there's that, there's the physical media aspect of it. And I just love that it's like, it's like a tome of information. You know what I mean? It's like for people, I know our listeners are kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
In a good way, listeners, in a good way.
Exactly. But I mean, especially from bringing people over from YHS who, I get messages often where it's like, hey, I don't know what you're talking about, but we like YHS, so we like listening to this. If you like that, buy this book because there's pages and pages of just like all sorts of fascinating stuff and information. And I think that's one of the best things about it.
And
I will add a guarantee to that if you read this book cover to cover, you will then know more about kaiju than Jake and I combined. There's that much information in there.
Yeah.
Real quick, Michael, before you get on the next thing, I have to say on that cover, obviously, Matt Frank, amazing stuff. The cover design, you look at it, it's amazing. But I love the little details of in the ramen bowl, like Mothra's egg and Big Mon. I think that was so great.
Cameras in there.
Oh my God, it's so wonderful. So wonderful.
We I think what was it? Travis messaged me one night at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm getting ready to go to bed. And he says, "What do I tell Matt when he asks us what does he want with this cover? Like as far as colors and stuff like that goes?" And you know what? I said, Travis, I am not the person to art direct Matt Frank. So I'm an art director by day, but I do not even feel qualified to even art direct Matt Frank when it comes to kaiju, when it comes to Godzilla and kaiju related things, even Power Rangers and Ultraman and these things that he's involved in. I am unqualified to art direct Matt Frank. Yeah. So I simply told Travis, I said, let Matt Frank be Matt Frank. And this is what we got. And I think we got some of the best work that Matt Frank has done in a long time. Now I know his Monsterverse stuff is great. He did a show up print that I have that's beautiful when he was doing his Criterion set. I think it was his Criterion set covers or something like that, the Blu-ray covers, and he did a poster along with that, and it's gorgeous. But I think this is some of the best art that Matt Frank has done in a long time. Not that Matt Frank's art has not been good up to this point. It's just that we haven't seen Matt Frank really do Godzilla Ultima in a way that's interesting. Like that's interesting. And to my knowledge, and I'm sure some more Matt Frank aficionados out there can tell me, I want to say this is maybe the first official Godzilla Ultima piece he's done up to this point. Maybe I'm not 100% sure on that, so maybe somebody else can correct me. But if that's the truth, that's like an added bonus because it's definitely an achievement unlocked to have Matt Frank on board. And I'm just going to add that, like, that's not knocking all the artists and things that have done covers for us before. Like, I'm not Matt Frank is Matt Frank is Matt Frank. Matt Frank is always going to be fantastic. But Chris Gonzalez, C Guns on Twitter, like he did our Godzilla versus Kong cover, and that is gorgeous. Beautiful. It is absolutely gorgeous. He exceeded all those expectations. I have to give love to Sean McGinnis, who did who was willing to do our very first cover and take a chance on us. So I have to thank Sean for that. And I have to thank Mike at Mike's Monsters and Kaiju Hime for doing issues 3 and issues 4. I mean, there's like we've tried our best to cover like a wide spectrum of artists and not just like mainstream artists. We didn't automatically aim for Matt Frank when we first started this thing. We wanted to show like smaller artists or artists that don't get recognized for their art as often as we think they should. Like for issue 5, we've got Lisa Knapziger doing issue 5 for us.
Nice.
And
she's awesome.
She is awesome. She is awesome. And she's garnered a big name she's garnered a pretty sizable name for herself in fandom right now. But we're just so happy with every cover artist, every writer, every interior artist person, what you name it. We're just incredibly grateful for every person who's been willing to take a chance on Kaiju Ramen magazine this past year. Like, it means a lot for two guys that just came up with a crazy idea, probably after too much bourbon, saying, "Hey, let's start a magazine." That sounds like fun.
It's amazing, man. And if you aren't sold by now, I mean, think about this. You obviously get the issues themselves, but you get a Matt Frank cover. I believe you guys are having a forward written by Kyle Yount, which that's huge. That's huge. Yeah. I mean, obviously everybody knows Kaiju Cast that knows a little bit about kind of the history of the Kaiju podcasting, lineage. But I mean, then you have all the goodies, which the chopsticks and that stuff is amazing. That's awesome.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
You're gonna get the extra content, the deleted scenes, if you will, the director's cut, the upgraded layout. I mean, this is a no-brainer. This is not one of those Kickstarters where you have to you know what, I'm going to do like the 48-hour rule and wait on it. And if I still want it in 48 hours, no, this is one you got to back it because, also, and it's an exclusive to Kickstarter. And we all love exclusives, especially on the YHS world. Like you throw the word exclusive on it and it's like done, bought. I don't even know what it is. I mean, if for those that listen to our channel, I mean, I think our Godfather, Craig Goldberg, I mean, if it says exclusive on it, he collects the entire line. I mean, that's just what he does. So, I mean, this is a no-brainer. It's the only thing I can use to describe it is there's no reason that everybody should go out there and back this for whatever reason. That it is just there's so many that you guys give us a lot of reasons to go out there and back it without even thinking about it. It's just great stuff. I mean, kudos to you and Travis. This is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that's just I can't say anything else except it just blows my mind about the support we've gotten. I want to I know it's cliche to say I'm just this humble guy from so-and-so West Virginia, but frickin' West Virginia. Oh, you said hurricane. Sorry.
Hurricane. That's what you mean because I said hurricane last time. You're like, no, it's hurricane.
It's hurricane. Yeah, it's hurricane. It's Hurricane West by God, Virginia. Get it right.
There you go.
But no, seriously, this is just a hobby. Like this is a hobby that turned into something that, people actually cared about. And it still blows my mind that we raised over $2,000 in 24 hours. That was on New Year's Day of all days, we raised over $2,000. And that is such a humbling thing because people are putting their trust in us. And now that we're like less than $1,000 away from meeting our goal, now I'm getting terrified because when you start, putting out physical media like this, it's tough. We're going to be probably a nervous wreck until this thing hits people's hands and probably thereafter, because I'm always going to be thinking like someone's going to comment like, oh my God, they found an error, crap. And I can't reprint this damn thing. So, oh, well, it's like that kind of stuff, man. It's like, but we're just going to put this thing out in the ether and hope that people love it and hope that people accept it. But, that's all I can really ask for.
Yeah,
if Jacob Walsh likes it, then you're in pretty dang good company.
Well, okay. So I never thought I would trust the word of a man who said the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is a kaiju, but I guess I'm going to trust him today.
Michael, we don't have to post this interview. If you keep on you're poking the bear here. You're poking the bear.
I think I wouldn't be me if I didn't poke the bear a little bit. I wouldn't be who I am.
You have to. I think first of all, I think the community wanted, and I think you guys provided like that. It's clear, that we needed something. It's like we all collectively wanted something to happen, and you gave it to us.
Yeah,
I mean, appreciate that. Yeah, I know we had a good friend that we were on live stream with not too long ago that said, a lot of people say they're going to do something about whatever, we went out and did it. And that's not me bragging. That's just saying that if you really want to do something, just do it. Like, just freaking do it, man. It's like, it's not like, what's the worst that can happen? People say no, or people say they don't like it. Like, okay, that's fine. Just move on to the next thing. Like, and that's, we took a chance on this and it turned out in our favor. And hopefully we'll keep going for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, who knows? I like, the sky's the limit at this point. And if it ends tomorrow, I'm happy, honestly.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of doing things, before you go, I do want you to have the opportunity to plug and talk about all the other stuff that you're doing, because it's crazy. I believe you and Travis, and like I said, I'll let you talk about it. I think you guys launched a little network, because you guys have so many podcasts and so much other stuff. So please, please, please let our listeners know what they can, where they can go and find you guys, and what they can expect and what they can listen to from you and Travis and the rest of your wacky friends that are all part of y'all's little menagerie of kaiju loving crazies.
Menagerie of kaiju loving madness, sir.
Yes,
you screwed up the what's the word? Oh crap. It doesn't matter. Whatever. So yeah, I'm into a lot. I started as a podcaster first and foremost. You can find me and Travis. I wish Travis could have been here because he would have really enjoyed this conversation. But I started out on Kaiju Weekly, and we are, as we say, a weekly podcast that covers the news. And we we try to be one of the most accessible podcasts for the kaiju genre. Like, we don't take ourselves too seriously. We talk about movies and kaiju media from a very accessible perspective. So we publish episodes every Wednesday. Travis is also involved with another show that he started, I think last year or earlier this year, called The Henshin Men, which is a podcast dedicated to Japanese superheroes and their high kicking and high flying adventures, as he likes to say. They're primarily a podcast that's talking about Kamen Rider at this point, but they are going to be moving on to other Henshin heroes. So if that's something you're interested in, it's Travis and Nathan Marchand that publishes every Tuesday. I think they changed their schedule. It was every Monday, but now it's every Tuesday. And then I started a solo show to coincide with an article series I'll be writing for I don't know why I said Kamen Rider magazine. Oh God, I just now put something out into the ether that Travis is going to latch on to.
I love it. Travis is like, wait a minute, I'm the Kamen Rider expert. Like, what the hell's going on here? To coincide with an article series I'm writing for Kaiju Ramen magazine. Oh, I've heard of that one.
Called The Power Trip, a journey through the Power Rangers franchise, along with my co-host Nathan Marchand. So basically, we're going to be talking about these seasons in broad strokes. We're going to analyze the Ranger teams, the villains, and the themes, not just the theme songs, but some of the themes found within these series. Because when you start digging into Power Rangers, you find out there is a lot there. Like, as a 35-year-old adult, like, you may not notice it when you're 8, but as a 35-year-old adult, you start noticing things and you start thinking, oh, okay, so maybe the creators meant this, but this was probably a little bit too far over the kid's head. So this is meant for the adults in the room. So there is a lot of depth there. So me and my co-host Nathan Marchand of the Monster Island Film Vault, we're going through them season by season. We've published 2 episodes so far, an introductory episode where you can get to know us and our background with the franchise, and episode 1 where we talk about in broad strokes the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers season 1. So the plan is right now it's only going to be like a year-long series. If it goes well, we may extend it to season 2, but right now it's only slated to go from Mighty Morphin to the current series Dino Fury. So that's basically, it's just my love letter to that genre and my love letter to that franchise, because I love it. And dare I say, I might even love Power Rangers more than I like Godzilla. So don't tell anybody.
Yeah, don't say that on here. But I have to say, the reason I wanted to bring you on is I wanted to show Jake, look, you have a challenger for who's on the most podcasts in a week. It's a race now. I mean, I'm just like, I don't know how you guys do it. Like, literally,
please
there's
take
like,
it from me.
I know. Seriously, between you, there's like, they're on 11 combined podcasts.
I mean, it's when you start doing stuff like this, it gets addicting. Like, it really does. It's a lot like collecting. Like, but we collect podcasts, not only toys. We collect podcasts. And I think the reason why that is because people are so starved for human connection that starting a podcast is usually a good way to go, especially if you can find people with similar interests. Yeah. So it does get a little bit overwhelming and it gets a little addicting over time, but it's been a fun ride so far, and I really can't complain about it too much.
As long as it's
awesome,
fun, man.
Yeah. Well, hey, Michael, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on here. Sure. Everybody, go back. Kaiju Ramen Volume 1 on Kickstarter. Go check out Kaiju Weekly and all their other ancillary podcasts, Henshin Men, The Power Trip, and even Nathan's Monster Island Film Vault. I know that's kind of a cousin to you guys as well.
Kind of, yeah. And it's the ugly cousin, but it's still the cousin.
And everything that you guys are doing, it's awesome. We are very honored that you were on here and were able to join us. And for everybody else, we're going to go back and we're going to chat with Abbey some more. So, from Michael to Abbey, we had all the great people on today. So, thank you, Michael. Take care and go back this project, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.
Nice.
Abbey, I wanted to ask you, do you have a list of all of the movies you've seen so far?
Damn it. No, I don't have a full list. I've not, I did make a list of some of my favorites.
Okay.
And I do have okay, cool. Okay, cool. I've got, let's see. Well, let's go the clunkers, because you did,
sure.
Jay, you wanted to know what the clunkers were.
Let's do that.
It's movies we just talked about, actually. Godzilla versus Sea Monster, which for the same reasons that we've discussed, which just didn't really hit right. Godzilla's Revenge is number 2.
Not a Godzilla movie. So you have seen Godzilla versus the Sea Monster.
You have seen Sea Monster.
I have that on tape. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, I totally missed. I thought you said you hadn't seen that one.
No,
Sorry.
it's cool. Okay, it's all good. And then I also put Godzilla vs King Ghidorah because I thought the aesthetic was great, but I thought the plot.
You're
kind of
talking about the
sucked.
'90s one.
The '90s one, yeah. yeah.
Convoluted time travel much?
It is
Convolu-
very
yes.
weird.
It's like watching another Terminator movie that should not have been made. Like there's some cool looks in the movie, but I was frustrated by it.
So what about the aesthetic did you like on that film? Because I agree with you. Like I'm 100% aligned with everything you just said.
I like the
just
time
curious.
travelers, like when their outfits. And
did you like the one cyborg when he does his running and he's like standing in place?
That's the thing that stood out the most to me, Jay, was like how ridiculous that scene of him running was.
Like looking, it reminded me of Red Dwarf. I don't know if you're like a Red Dwarf fan. The British, it's a British like sci-fi parody, and the guy, I forgot what his name is, the cyborg though. It reminds me of him so much when he does the running. It's so good.
Yeah. It's literally like, that the anticipation behind that shot was like, this is going to be really good. And when you're watching it, it's like nothing. It kind of brings up Pet Cemetery for some reason in my mind. It's just like kind of strange.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
That's a weird connection.
Yeah, I think
First
I'm thinking
one
of,
ever.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I'm thinking of the character that was a runner or something like that. It's either way. Those are the clunkers for me, would be those three. I was like, definitely not wanting to revisit, and just didn't work for me.
There's
but
there's nothing controversial in that list. Like, I mean, I would say, like,
no, those are all
whether we agree with it or not. Like, I think if you polled the kaiju community, like those three would kind of fall near the bottom.
Less inventive designs.
Actually, on King the 91 King Ghidorah, I actually do like talking about aesthetics. I love the look of Mecha King Ghidorah. I love that. I think that was so cool.
Yeah.
And I thought the miniature work and like the cities and the destruction and stuff for the Heisei era, which we know that was always an issue with, because just how all the kaiju are big and it's not super immobile. I thought that actually was pretty good on that. I love those scenes in the city and stuff. So I like the aesthetic on that, but the story is just like, it's like, come on, guys,
it's stupid. But I remember when I was younger and I was for the first time, I used to kind of cringe at the Dorats. I used to just be like, I was like, these are so stupid. But now they're my favorite part of that movie. Yeah. Now I'm like, well, I want a Dorat. Why don't they why doesn't somebody make a life-size Dorat? Like, why can't I own that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a couple of those.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
actually,
I think it was because I liked the Dorats so much that I was like, why isn't the plot better? Yeah. I need this all to be
exactly
to match up.
So that movie, there's one thing it reminded me of when you said, like, when you watched it the first time, one of the big things that a lot of people back in like the early 90s when it was first kind of migrating over here, right, it was kind of the first time that Godzilla had been just directly on film in canon said that this came from this dinosaur, right? Like there was the Godzillasaurus, those flashback and
that's another thing I hate that about that movie. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, understand. And that tied in with that whole scene is like besides the Spielberg reference, there's the whole like whether you believe it or not, like kind of this thought that it was anti-American and stuff like that. But like, I was curious, like, did you like that it was like, so like in your face, like on almost said on paper, on film, like here's the dinosaur that this Godzilla derived from, or did you like it better on all the other films when it's a little bit more vague and mysterious?
100%. Always better when the mystery's there and your mind can like fill in the blanks of the origin story. I don't want to be told what is actually happening. Like that takes all the magic.
That's what I agree. And I always thought it was weird. Like, even though it's a Godzilla movie and it's like, there's plenty of things that you have to like suspend your disbelief for. And it's like, okay, but now all of a sudden there's a specific dinosaur that no one's ever heard of called the Godzillasaurus. That doesn't look anything like Godzilla, except for it's got tiny spines on. I remember not liking that either. And that also reminds me whenever the American, when 2014 came out, the legendary Godzilla, I remember being like, I wonder what Godzilla's like explanation is going to be, what he is, where he came from. And then the movie happens and they're like, oh, he's just always been here. Yeah. And I remember loving that. I was like, cool. That's how it needs to be. So what do you have? What have you liked? What's been on the top of your list so far?
Yeah, I've got a good number of those. I'll say starting from number, let me see, number 5. I actually have.
Oh, you ranked them?
Yeah,
That's
I do.
amazing.
Yeah,
And Abby
totally.
ranks everything.
Oh,
you
no,
should have known.
Abby, we are in the
it's
same.
not a
wavelength.
bad thing.
Part
I'm
of my
just
mental
saying.
illness.
No,
It's great.
no. People love lists. and
Yeah,
people
lists are
love
great.
rankings.
I know.
And that's my mantra in life. I will rank rankings. I will rank which of my rankings was the best. Like I'm right there with you. I
Rank my
love it.
rankings.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
I've been trying to rank the entire Godzilla series since Jay asked me to do it like 2
I've done
years
it 3
ago,
times.
and I cannot. I have notes on my phone of every movie, and there's numbers, and there's only like maybe 6 of them actually. There's like the top 3 and the bottom 3 are ranked, and I can't do anything else. So,
and Abby, I don't know if you listened to when Jake and I did the best and worst of Godzilla in film episode early on. Like we kind of decided about like instead of like realistically, it's going to be impossible to rank them. You can kind of do in clusters, right? Like these are the upper tier 3 or 4 or 5.
Yeah.
These are kind of like pretty good, like pretty close. These are kind of like and then these are like we don't like them. It's like I think that like I think that's probably the most accurate way because it's so the differences are so subtle between like my 7th and 8th, right? Like who knows? Well, it depends what day of the week it is. So, but I love that you ranked them. That just made my whole evening amazing.
Thank you. I realize I actually have 6 that are my favorites, so I'll start at number 6.
Even better.
Let's do
We
it.
do honorable mentions too.
This is kind of an honorable mention because I don't know if it's a really. I don't know. I don't think it's a good film, but I love the ending. Son of Godzilla. I really like the
that movie.
snow and
One of the best endings.
it makes me cry to see the parenting on just how the loving, nurturing bond between Godzilla and Minya. It's really special.
I like that movie because it's kind of like a bottle episode. It just everything happens on an island and you're never off the island. I like that about it. I like the snow setting. I like the weird there's just random giant creatures all over the place.
Yeah.
I like that movie's fun.
I would say that I'm glad you said that, Abby, because I think Jake and I are probably, if you polled the kaiju community, we probably like Son of Godzilla more than the average bear, if you will. I think like we defend it because I think that one scene is like it'll just burn in your mind, and you want
needs to be. I want a Mondo print of that. I want a print on my wall of that snow scene.
Mr. Tom Whalen, please.
Tom, please
Tom,
do this for us.
Tom, we want it. We want it.
I'll give you the Ebera if you do. No, I won't. Because Tom's trying to steal this one from me. He's not doing it.
Try to steal it. You better watch out.
No,
because you feel the heat in that movie and like this, the everyone's sweating. I love that the female who lives on the island already like borrows the khakis from one of the dudes, but they fit her so well, surprisingly. I kind of like that. I've always been like the one girl hanging out with a bunch of dudes, so there's part of that I identify with. But yeah, it was like after one very special like moving therapy session, I watched this movie. I watched Son of Godzilla, and it was like I felt that connection. I was just like, oh, parenting. This is really special. Yeah, and I've gone back and revisited that, and always had that like comforting, like really good emotional release.
And Jake, you brought up something I know when we were talking about Son of Godzilla. I can't remember if this was on air, off air. That like I think is a cool point that people overlook. A lot of people just fixate on the fact that they fixate on Minya and just the design, but aside from that, they fixate on but it's just a giant spider and a giant praying mantis. That's what Kumanga and Kamakras are. It's like I remember you telling me like, but if you think about it, those are 2 of the most legitimately scary monsters in the whole universe because that like there's an element of realism, an element of like
everybody is scared of spiders. Like everybody is scared of like they just are. There's you're right. They're
they're killing each other
because they're real. Yep.
Yeah.
And they're killing each other. They don't. There's no tag teams. No. It's just like we're in the jungle. Around. We're gonna eat people. Yeah.
Yep.
And so I think that adds to it. Yeah. I love that. I love that you have Son of Godzilla.
Exactly. Yeah. You have the vulnerability and all that, and then yes, obviously like parenting stepping in and making sure to teach the young how to survive. I think that's awesome.
But it is my least favorite Godzilla design. I hate the 67.
It's a weird design. The suit's weird. He looks froggy in it. His the top of his head is
derpy. Used
derpy,
correctly.
Exactly.
Number 5 that I have down is purely for the memory of watching it with both of y'all, actually, Godzilla vs. Megalon. And the fact that Jake did that costume for Dragon Con, and that character looks like Jake was like in a Godzilla movie back when they filmed. He was just ready to run it. And I think it's
Emperor.
Yeah.
Emperor Antonio.
Yeah. I think sort of
best
at that
name.
Why is his name Antonio? It's so stupid.
I didn't even know he had a name. All I know is
I don't think they ever say it. I think it's just in the credits or something.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh yeah, this is Antonio.
Yeah.
I liked it because with seeing you put that costume together and wearing it to Dragon Con, I was like, if Jake is like willing to put this much into wearing this,
the dumbest costume ever.
But it's awesome, and I loved it. And I think that excitement about it is what like pulled me further. I was like, well, I want to know what it is that Jake likes so much about this. Yeah. And I think that movie is it's dumb. It's got really dumb like sequences in it. I think that the relationship between like the kid and the adults, it's all a little weird. But
yeah.
Yeah, it's
weird, but it's amazing.
Weird.
Yeah,
weird. But amazing.
The actor who portrayed Jet Jaguar is doing a signing right now. Like you can pre-order an 8x10, and I showed Jay and I put it in our other chat too. There were 14 options to get of the 8x10s to get signed, and I was a little annoyed that the handshake wasn't one of them. Yeah, I wanted the Godzilla hand. Why is that not in there? But the one I ended up choosing is a black and white photo of Jet Jaguar holding the kid with the two guys, and it just looks like a family portrait. And I'm like, that's the one I'm going with because it just makes me feel weird, and I like that.
I agree. I'm currently pitching to Tony Taylor of Tony Taylor Toys. I want to release a kaiju series of like all of us, and Jake, I want you've talked about doing Jake Jaguar, but I want to have Jay on your shoulders.
No, can he be carrying me? Can he be carrying me?
Yes. I want
Craig and Abbey can be the other guy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna Photoshop that tonight, Jay.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's awesome, dude.
Yes, I'm glad of all of them. I get to be the kid from Godzilla versus Megalon. Yeah. Hey, only if I can get it. Only if I can get an exclusive that I get to be riding that cool dolphin toy in the water. Then we're totally cool because that's my favorite thing in the world.
You get the dolphin toy accessory.
My San Diego Comic-Con exclusive.
I'll talk to Tony. Moving on though, I've got number 4. And this is a movie that I saw for the first time, like in the last month. I put it on, and it's Hedra. I really,
I'm a Hedra shirt on.
Oh yes, just it's like that movie's like I said this, Jake, don't take offense. It feels like a bong rip. It feels like a trippy, like psychedelic. I love that like the youth are like out on the mountain partying like before Hedorah's taken down. I love Hedorah's design. When I went and read about it, I loved what I found out even more with the eyes being reminiscent of female genitalia. To be off-putting. It's fucking awesome. I just we
talked about it in our episode about how weird it is. We did a whole thing about Hedorah and about how weird it is, how half of that movie is really serious, and there's like a lot of human death in that movie, and then half of it is Godzilla flying
and animation
and weird animation.
Yes.
I was mad, Abby. I was annoyed. I told Jay this already, but I was annoyed that you got that it was Hedorah's eyes at the end of the movie that Godzilla ripped out, because for most of my Godzilla viewing life, I thought those were eggs, as did most of the community, because they're shaped different. Godzilla pulls them like out of his stomach or something. Like you just But he apparently they are the eyes. So whenever you texted me and you said something about that, I was like, she got it right. She got it right away.
Look at her figuring it out. That's my MO, is to jump into things and just
to jump in and know it.
Just be good at them.
It is, one thing, and I'll like give the overall kind of the 10,000 foot view of our episode of Godzilla Goes Art House, the review of Godzilla versus Hedra. It is truly, and I'm not a fan of the movie. I think there's cool parts. I just think it's so disjointed. It's not a good movie. There are parts of it I love. I mean, I'm wearing a Hedorah shirt. There's lots of it, but I think our big takeaway that we settled on was that if you really think about all the Godzilla movies, the 36, 37 films, there's only a handful that you can say are truly unique pieces of film. There's the original Godzilla 1954. There's Shin Godzilla kind of as the bookends. And the only other one there's no other film like it is Godzilla versus Hedra. I mean, it is a art house production. It's by a one-time director and Yoshimitsu Banno. It is very it is what it is. It's a product of the time, but it's also just like a little bit of everything all jammed together. And where I netted out personally is that when they jammed it all together, it doesn't work for me. But it is, a very, it's a cult classic. It's such a popular film. But it is truly one of the three most, I think, unique Godzilla films in the entire franchise. Whether you love it, hate it, or you're indifferent about it, I don't think you can take that away from it.
Yeah.
Well said. It sounded like there was a kaiju monster.
I know.
Was that at your place?
Yeah, it's my place. I'm not sure what happened. But yeah, no, I wanted
Craig's
to say
playing his drums.
Most likely. What you were mentioning with the original Godzilla and how that's a standout film. I think that's it. That movie adds like such a grounded level of depth and what the expectation kind of going into the rest of the films is, because that movie caught me off guard when I saw the original. It was like and I've talked about it on the show before, like the choir singing at the end, like the death, it's a beautiful movie. It's a beautiful piece of film, and it's emotional. It has like real stakes. The whole world seems at risk, and it's got that kind of the environmental, social type of commentary that's not like Hedora is like just in your face and doesn't really know what it is. It's like, which is why I said it was kind of like a bong rip, because it's like very confusing and disjointed. Like in the beginning, it's like in Hedora, it's like the pollution is obviously what's destroying people, and so it seemed like it was going to go in that direction, but then it veered off into like a music video for a while.
You have like the talking head scene with all of them, like the baby in the sludge. But a question, as a cat lover, we asked this on our episode: do you think the cat survived? The cat that's on the stairs in the sludge.
Oh, yeah. I think the
he
cat always
too.
survives.
I think Jake was like, he's dead.
Nah. Cats are smart. They'll climb. They'll take things out. I know them well.
What's next on your list?
Okay, let's see here. Number 3, and I know you like this one, Jay. Destroy All Monsters. It's a recent watch for me, and that felt like the pit, like the culmination of like. So yeah, it's just everything and like kind of the perfect vibe, and
it's an Avengers movie.
Exactly.
It is an Avengers movie.
Yeah, Manda's like on your left. It feels like
Manda's the Hawkeye.
Abby texted me one day and said, "I like Manda," and I was just like, "Abby," I was like, nobody in the kaiju community has ever said that.
There's not enough to the design because he's just like a.
He's supposed to kind of look like the traditional. The dragon, right?
And he does in Atragon, in his original movie.
Yeah, but he looked just like the one in Destroy All Monsters. He's just like
straight
this
up
on a string, and it's just
here
like
comes Manda.
He can't do. He's like slowly wrapping his body around other. He
but
can't
that's
do
funny.
It is funny, but he's
it's
completely.
It's like bad children's puppet theater. It really is.
And I like that. I was just at the Center for Puppetry Arts in Atlanta, and they had that.
Like,
you could do and switch the dragon around like in a little theater setting.
That's cool.
Yeah, so there is something within me that was like, oh, that is clearly a puppet.
There's
I liked it.
Yeah, there's something about Destroy All Monsters that when you watch it, there are a couple Godzilla movies that are like, and I don't. This sounds derogatory to be like, oh well, Godzilla 54 is a real movie. You know, a lot of the other Godzilla movies are silly. But when you watch Destroy All Monsters, it does feel like Manda is silly, but the human characters and the interaction with everything, it all feels well written and it's good, and it kind of like I saw this movie at a drive-in last year.
That's amazing.
Which was amazing. It was a triple. We talked about it. It was a triple feature, and that was one of the films. But I remember sitting there watching and just be like, God, like you spend a lot of time away from the kaiju in that movie, and there's a lot of human characters, but it works well. It's really balanced, and then at the end, there's just that giant. It's literally the Avengers. It's just literally the Avengers. But
yeah. And I like any movie that's set in the future of 1999. I was like, all right, what do they think it was going to be like?
I know they just did that in
1999.
I know they just mess up continuity. Yeah. The reason I love it, it was my first Godzilla movie I ever watched. So it was my babysitter when I was 6 in 1987. Like that was my first movie. I still remember it, and it has that nostalgia tie to me. But I agree. I think it's people kind of they shit on it a little bit because of they perceive it to be a weak story, and I fully disagree. I think that the Kylax and them being like this living metal, and I think Akira Kubo, his performance as the lead, he's great. Like there's a lot there that I really absolutely adore, and a lot of people also get fixated on the fact it's 9 against 1. It's not a fair. You know what? Who cares? I get to see Gorosaurus do a kangaroo kick. I get to see Varan flying in for 0.4 seconds. I get to see them call Gorosaurus Baragon. It's so amazing. But I love them also attacking the different cities too. I thought that was so cool.
That part I love, seeing Godzilla in New York and shit.
That's what I'm saying.
It's 9 against 1, but really it's like 4 against 1. The other 5 are just like,
because the suits were so damaged,
hanging out in the background.
Also, if you think about it, I know, right? By 1968, I think about like how many times did we get to see multiple kaiju attacking a city at once? And you have that scene where you have Godzilla, Mothra Larva, Rodan, I believe, and Manda, like all attacking it like once in Tokyo, and it's like that's kind of cool. And so I agree. I think it is a fun movie. I'm glad you liked it. It is to me, it's one of the easiest watches in all of Godzilla-dom, because it's just like, I don't know, it's so funny. And one of the most iconic scenes where the lady gets her earring ripped out and you see the blood. That is another famous Godzilla scene. I always go back to. I love that one.
Yeah. It's that movie had like the popcorn like value. For sure. Big fight, big explosions, lots of different cities.
100%.
Really enjoyed that one.
So that was number 3. You got 2 left? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Right.
I got 2 left. Number 2 is the 1954 Godzilla, which we already kind of covered. Groundbreaking, serious, somber, horrifying, fantastic music. Talked about all that. Science is taken seriously.
Yeah.
Environment is important, and how humans are affecting the environment is like up front. And it's just
I want to ask you a question about that, because I feel like in my experience with people who haven't seen much Godzilla stuff, they expect, like someone who hasn't seen any Godzilla, they expect it all to just be silly and stupid and just dumb.
Yeah.
And anytime I've talked to somebody who has seen Godzilla 54 for the first time, has been like, what? Like, because it is not presented in a silly way. It's just not. It is a serious monster movie. At the time, it was considered that's considered a horror film. You wouldn't really think about Godzilla as a horror movie, but that first film it's a deadly serious film, and especially if you know any of the background about how they couldn't make movies about Hiroshima, so this was their way to kind of get around it. But when you watched it, were you expecting? Did you already know from me, or were you expecting a sillier movie? Did you watch that and were like, I
was totally knocked off my ass and like taken aback by it, and in a very good way. That really piqued and like made my interest get even deeper. I think it was after seeing that one that I was like, I want to borrow books and like start like you lending me movies. Because that was like a beautiful piece of cinema
Did you watch the Japanese version or the English or the American version with Raymond Burr spliced in?
To my knowledge, I think I watched the Japanese version.
Yeah.
Was there a white dude reporter in it?
There was not.
No,
then you watched the Japanese version.
There's. I really missed out on the white dude reporter. Man.
Well, Harry Mason.
I'll tell you. We'll do this quickly. In the original 54, when it came over, they filmed a whole bunch of extra scenes. Perry Mason, Raymond Burr, and they put him in the film, and it's not bad. Not like a bad. It's great. He lends himself very well. It's very serious. He's got some really cool voiceovers, but he's a great actor. Different. But it's a very different movie. And have you seen Godzilla 1985 yet?
Yeah, saw it.
Okay, you've probably seen the American version of that one, because that's he's in that one. He is the Steve Martin character. That is him.
The guy with the beard.
The old white guy with a beard. And we've talked about this on the show before, but whenever that movie was made, they wanted that movie to be a little silly. When they filmed the American stuff, it was going to be sillier.
Americans,
and he was like, I'm not doing that. He's like, this original movie is not to be made fun of, and he like made them rewrite stuff on the spot because he had too much respect for the original film. So I like watching the American versions of that. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, that is great. And I that is kind of something that I think can, if there's like the storyline, I know with dubbing, etc., can sometimes be lost or but I think that 54 Godzilla, that movie just it's just standing on its own in its own way. And it's just fantastic. Yeah. I remember enjoying that. I think I have it on VHS, so I may watch it tonight. Who knows? Yeah. It's a good one. Number one.
It's number one.
I know number one.
I know what it is too. Yeah.
I know you guys.
I think so. Yeah.
And I have no figures from this movie because they're very expensive. And Jake always buys them before I can see them in the store. All right, Godzilla vs. Biollante. It's my absolute favorite. It's
same.
Dude, like I know you can speak to it, and you have, Jake. It has it's a sci-fi like romance in so many ways. There is like an undying love tale within it. The psychic female character,
Mickey.
Yeah, like
the debut of Mickey.
Yep.
This movie has my favorite scene of like any Godzilla movie, and it is the scene with all the kids in the classroom raising what they.
Oh, I
their
love
pictures.
that. Yeah, they've all had the
Love
same
it.
dream. The music behind that moment, it just it kicks right in, and you're just like,
yes.
yeah, I love it.
It's coming. I can't wait. Yeah, that's how that movie makes me feel. The design on Biollante, like the different forms, like as a rose, like and changing into like looks kind of like the Little Shop of Horrors, Tui.
Yeah,
like also
crocodile-ish. Yeah.
Yes. And because I think when I was reflecting on this, like what I love is the juxtaposition of like the beauty and the monster, like the beautiful and the terrifying. I think the design with Biollante is like so beautiful when you see on the water. And like the relationship of like Mickey having like a psychic connection. And even the open of the movie, like it's like almost like a Terminator, like late 80s sci-fi opening. And
the Seradian agents.
That plot is whatever. But this is a movie that I like to go back to and watch. There's just something about the big handsome military guy with like comes in and can't really...
Are you talking about the Super X2 pilot who's like the young, thinks he can do everything? Yeah.
I remember messaging you. I was like, oh, this dude is totally gonna fall on his face. There's no way this thing's gonna work. That movie is my aesthetically and just like messaging wise and like the way it grabs my mind is unlike any other Godzilla. And Jake, you were the one that was like, this is my favorite. So I had respect for it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've said a lot about that movie. To me, it feels like it's on a whole other level. And I like to tell people who haven't seen any Godzilla movies, if they ask me, even though there's the Showa era, there's the Heisei era, and all the Heisei movies are all connected. One takes place after the other. I like to tell people that there's like a secret trilogy hidden in the Godzilla films, and it's 54, 85, and Biollante. And just watch those three together, just because I really, really love the way that Biollante starts exactly where 54 ends, and not 54. 84, 85, depending on which version you're watching. But those three, I think, are, other than Shin, those three are the most serious of the entire franchise. They're, I don't know, they're a little more well made, I think, as far as actual movies go. But yeah, Biolante's on another level for me. I think it's the only movie that has a seriously scary villain. Like, Biolante's not really a villain, but Biollante is I think the only Godzilla kaiju that is like legitimately terrifying.
And Shin,
and morphing and changing forms. That's something that
and you're overlooking the most important thing about that movie. It's not that Biollante is maybe the best kaiju design ever, and we talked about that in our kaiju design episode. But it also has my number one Toho actress crush of all time, Yasuka Sawaguchi, who plays Erica, who dies and becomes Biollante until she has the worst The worst scene in the movie is when she's floating up in the sky.
A Photoshop of her face and the yellow
Yes.
In her defense, I fell in love with
love
her in Yamato Takaru, not in Godzilla vs. Biollante. But Erica, I love you. Or in 1980, she was in Godzilla 1985 as well. But yes, so that's the most important part of Godzilla vs. Biollante.
Yeah. There's
That's a good list.
A feminine touch to, I think, that movie that I appreciate.
There's a lot. I mean, because you have obviously the intro of Mickey, who becomes obviously a bigger and bigger part until Space Godzilla, when then she's like the lead, and they're like, yeah, we probably shouldn't make her the lead. Nothing against Mickey, but I mean, another episode, Godzilla in space. We talk about Space Godzilla. That's a fun one. That's a good list. So I gotta ask you, Jake. So you know what Abby's, not all the stuff that you've watched, but like some of the tops and the bottoms. Like what would be your, like, for a couple of films that you would recommend for her to watch to kind of fill in some of those Godzilla gaps or other kaiju gaps?
Well, I feel like maybe there needs to be some more Showa stuff. You know what I mean? Like maybe I know you said you've seen Destroy All Monsters, but what about maybe like Monster Zero? Have you seen that one? Have you seen any of the other older Ghidorah films? I feel like you have to check out one of those.
I think I believe it was a Ghidorah one where there's like a woman that's from space that comes and like, I'm not sure, honestly.
That's Ghidra, the three-headed monster, or Ghidorah, the three-headed monster.
That's a good one. Yeah, maybe that one. I would maybe say Godzilla versus Gigan, just because Gigan's one of my. Gigan's very fun. Yeah, that's got Godzilla.
I've seen that one.
Have you seen that one?
That has the theme
tower
park in it.
Yeah, the theme park. Yep. Where the aliens are cockroaches. Yeah.
Yes. If there's a miniature like theme park, or if there's a theme park theme,
you're
into it.
The children. Yes,
children.
Exactly.
And the one guy that eats the corn, I love that guy. He's my
favorite. I love him. Yeah.
Comedic relief.
So I gotta ask, have you seen, speaking of show, what I think is the best it's been number one on my list, and it's hard because Godzilla 1954 is like, it's one of those, it's hard to put in the list, like where do you really consider it? But factoring that out, what I think is the best Showa era film, and it's actually number one on my Godzilla list and has been on the last 3 times I've ranked them, is 1964's Mothra versus Godzilla, or Godzilla versus the Thing, it's sometimes referred to here. I think that's the best cast. That is the best. I think that is the best, like the movie that the least amount of times go, oh yeah, I'm watching a Godzilla movie. I think that like it's the most well done for a golden era of Toho, golden era of kaiju film. But the cast is, I mean, it's truly, it's Hiroshi Koizumi, Akira Terada. Who is it? Kenji Sahara plays the big bad. I mean, it's this amazing cast, and it's important because it's the last film where Godzilla is truly the bad guy. He's not necessarily a good guy coming after that. He's just not the villain. And it's one of the first crossovers. It's Mothra versus Godzilla. I know King Kong was before it, but like a Toho property.
Yeah, right? Mothra already had her own film before.
In 61,
that's one of the coolest things that some people don't. Just like Rodan had his own movie. Mothra was Varan. A lot of these creatures.
I gotta see these standalones. Yeah,
there's a lot of standalones. And I mean,
also in the Mothra one, you also introduced fantasy to Godzilla for the first time, because it was all science based, and then here comes Mothra with the fairy twins, and everything. So that movie, I think it's one of the best. And like I said, from just top to bottom, acting to story to the kaiju to the fight scenes to everything, I think it's just beautiful.
It's hard not to just be like, okay, and then you have to watch this one, and then you have to watch this one. But I also think, and I think you might own this one, because I think I might have given it to you and you watched them out of order, I believe, because there is Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, and then
Cosmic Monster.
Or the Cosmic Monster.
And the Bionic Monster.
Or the Bionic Monster. And then they made The Terror of Mechagodzilla, which is the second Mechagodzilla movie. And I remember you were watching it, and I'm like, oh, you're watching 2 before 1.
I sure did.
But
That's exactly how I did
it. Did you see you saw the first
one? I saw the first one, and I loved that. That one was like almost on my top 5.
Well,
like,
that
was a good one.
I think one of the most iconic Godzilla scenes of all time is when Mechagodzilla reveals himself, and in that music is so awesome, and he burns the fake Godzilla skin off his body. Is just it's just fun. I would tell everybody to watch Shin Godzilla. I'm not sure if you've seen that.
I have. I really enjoyed it, but I don't think I wouldn't these others stood out more to me, and I felt more like talking about them. Shin's very cool.
Okay.
I've seen it only once though, so
Yeah,
I understand there's some
gotcha.
probably
I
more
would tell
research I
that.
could do.
Other than that, man, like I think you've seen a good number of, you've seen a lot of my favorites. So it's like hard to tell. I would tell you to watch Singular Point,
Okay.
which is
That's on Netflix, right?
It's on
That's the
Netflix,
anime.
and I mean it's an anime, but it's a very, very different version of Godzilla, and it's very fun. So
You said
you're
that
forgetting
Mando
one.
was in it.
what am I forgetting?
You're forgetting one. So
Megagear?
like. Don't watch it, please. Well, actually,
Don't
watch it and let us know if you agree with it, but don't watch it. From the Millennium, and I think this is really close to being one of the most unique, because it is a totally different interpretation of Godzilla. Whereas, like, in the Showa era, there's loose continuity. Continuity. In Heisei, the 90s, that from 85 on, that is like a more strict continuity. And then in the Millennium series that followed, those are for the most part one-offs. There's a couple that are tied together. But there's one that's a totally one-off. It is a very different interpretation of Godzilla. One of my absolute favorites. I think it's number 3 or 4 on my list of all time. And that, of course, is Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Kaiju Zokugeki, or Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, giant monster, all-out attack. And it is, it's very, Godzilla's evil.
He's evil. Yeah, he has like just white eyes. He's like an ancient.
He is the souls of all those that died in the World War II Japanese soldiers come back to destroy everything. And it is cool because there's him and Mothra and King Ghidorah, and Baragon is reinterpreted in it. And there's some really cool stuff. I absolutely love that movie, and there's some subtle nods to some Showa era fighting style, but for the most part it's a legit like more modern movie. Came out in 2001, and I love that one. And it's a different take. It's one that, like, I think it's mostly well liked, but it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I absolutely love it. And that's
the designs are all great. They all look a little different. Like Godzilla looks, it's one of the top Godzilla designs. He looks great.
Oh, I love it.
And King Ghidorah looks very different. And it's also like, the only film where King Ghidorah is a good guy, I guess. It's like, it switches everything around. It's very
cool. All Out Attack is the name of it.
People refer to it as GMK.
People call it GMK.
Yeah.
GMK or All Out Attack. Yeah.
Yeah. Giant monster, All Out Attack.
Sounds like a hardcore band. I love it.
It's the longest name, but it's the best.
It's the most Japanese title of any of them.
We should start a band and call it All Out Attack.
Yes.
GMK All Out Attack.
But it's a good one. I think to Jake's point, go try some of the more kind of classic Showa stuff, Gears, if you like that. And Singular Point was a great call. I think a lot of people kind of forget about that, but like that is that's by far the better of the two anime selections.
And it's the newest thing.
It's the newest thing.
It's the newest thing that's out there. So.
It's cool. And neither Jake or I are anime aficionados, but we know Godzilla. And
John liked it.
Yeah. There you go.
We know that John liked it.
What else? So we got anything else we wanted to talk about? We're almost up on an hour and a half here, and I know hour and a half on this part of the episode. But was there any other questions we wanted to ask Abby, or what else?
I just had 2. I had one that was very broad, and this goes to either getting into the films or the collecting aspect of it, because I think that might be more apropos for this question. But like, was there anything that was like when you got into it, like was so scary and daunting about diving into it? Whether that is the fandom, whether that is the just how much stuff there is, whether that's Jake just being like, "No, Abby, you're wrong." Like, what is that?
Dude, don't tell me I'm wrong. No. You've never said that.
He would never say that.
And I think the reality is, like, my personality is just to jump in, and I don't care who it's for. I'm going to, if I enjoy it, I'm going to like it. Speaking of hardcore music, I used to be like really into going to hardcore shows, and there was not a lot of females that were like well accepted in that arena. So I almost take it as a challenge. Like I was always into like full contact football instead of like no 2-hand touch. Like I want to go all the way into things, and I like to get my hands dirty. And I don't really. What other people want to gatekeep or prevent others from getting in it. Just it makes me want to get into it more and just be like, I'm actually probably going to know more about you in like a month. And Jake's never been anything honestly but accepting, and so have you, Jay. And just the general love and respect. And I think the the breadth and like the age and the history of this world. There's like, it's big, and so many people have helped to create things. And yeah, I find it to be a pretty welcoming world. And
That's awesome.
I've seen like that pop-up that we were at in Chicago, the crowd was really diverse and like young, and I think it's just very much cool when people can go into something without being afraid of it and just find what they love and be just absorb it as much as possible. And then celebrate it with their friends like we are right now, which is like the later payoff when you can discuss it.
Well, you kind of answered my second question, which was kind of like, I think, the wrap up to the episode, and really what we spent this whole time getting to is like, we really like, I know a lot of shows out there in all mediums and all topics, whether it's a Star Wars vlog or a a toy collecting podcast or whatever. I think a lot of times we just naturally say, whether you're a hardcore fan or you're a newbie to the genre, listen to us. We're, but at the end of the day, like most people kind of start at level 10, right? But like this episode was really to show like, no, like we really want to become accessible to folks and get more people loving the genre, whether they ever listen to us again. Jake and I don't care. We just want more people to love this genre, because I do feel there's so many great things foundationally about it for all walks of life and all that stuff. So for you as a legitimate newbie, but want somebody that's already consumed a ton of content, like beyond impressive, like, do you have any advice or any last kind of parting words because we know we have people that listen to this that are from the Ghostbusters community, that are from the Star Wars and Masters of the Universe toy collecting community, from the horror community, like, and they're like, okay, Jake likes it, and I love Jake, so like maybe I need to get into this. So like, what would be your kind of like advice or parting words for those folks to like, hey, go ahead. You're at the edge. Let's push them off into the world of kaiju.
I would be like, if you like Ghostbusters, you already like kaiju, because the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, he is a kaiju.
And you don't even know why that works, but with our interview that probably has already played on this episode, and he was going against that. So I'm glad, Abby, you're on our side.
I'm on your side, dude. I love it. I would say that if you appreciate movies, films as we call them, like I think that there's a depth in the universe of Godzilla and kaiju movies that will satisfy and scratch an itch that you may not have even known you had. And there will be surprises and things that will delight you along the way that will be enough to keep you going. And although it is expensive to collect like some of the toys like we've talked about, but just you can start at any price point. You can start like at any level, like I have. Get finger puppets. Watch what's available to you. I know it's kind of hard, like to collect VHS, but I mean, HBO has a good amount of Godzilla movies on, Voodoo, etc. And talk to Jake, honestly, or to Jay. But if you need recommendations or explanations, you're gonna find somebody else who's in this community who will explain stuff to you and celebrate it and enjoy it with you. And like everything, you'll end up finding more friends. And I think that's the most important thing.
Well said.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, thank you. Now I'm going to knock my table over. Just kidding, toy anxiety.
If you want to hear more from this wonderful shoguness of the Shobajin, it's easy. You just got to go to YHS. Yes, have some group therapy on Facebook. Join the most accepting, wonderful, awesome community on the information superhighway. It is just beyond amazing. And that is kind of that nurturing biosphere that spawns out into all these wonderful YHS properties that Abby is also a part of, including Toy Anxiety every Tuesday at 9:30, 8:30 Central on it is shifting the paradigm of toy collecting as we know it. And you're joined with Mr. Jacob Walsh, with Craig Goldberg, and with Ryan Dole, the kingpin of Canadian collectors. They're the best of all time. You got YHS Prime. Without YHS Prime, hey, we wouldn't be here. And then you just start, I guess this is week 3 of the Book of Boba, the Boba Book Club. I'm sorry, the Book of Boba Fett. Lots of Bobas there, which is an amazing recap show of the Book of Boba Fett. And you've kind of like a rotating panel. You got Troy Benjamin on there. I saw Kat Hansen was on last week, and that's an awesome show. So everybody go check that out. And then if you have a few bucks, if you just maybe you got a nice bonus, maybe you're gonna get some tax relief coming up. Give a few bucks to YHS a Patreon, because you guys give them some awesome, awesome bonus content, whether it's Jake reading some Stephen King, whether it's Abby reading her diary. I mean, there's everything on there, and it is amazing. So please go do that. And of course, if you do like our show, just please, we're begging you, leave us a review on whatever podcast service, on YouTube or wherever. Just like it, subscribe it, do all the stuff. You know the verbiage, you know the vernacular, because we really do appreciate it, and we want to keep talking kaiju for as long as they'll let us.
Jay, you're so good at that.
Yeah, I'm like, why would I say anything else? I'm just gonna put my sunglasses on.
Real
quick,
some
spam.
Real quick before we get out of here, Abby, talk about your blog, and then we're gonna end.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I do have a blog that I launched like a week ago. It's called unstructuredfreetime.com. It's all one word, lowercase. And yeah, it's just a little website that I opened up, and I have big intentions to add more to it. But I put up a big post about the art of collecting, like what collecting means to me. And I did mention Tokyo Toy Town and Jay and Jake in the piece. So check that out. I would appreciate that. And thanks for all the other things, Jay. I really appreciate those.
No worries. They are nothing but the truth there. Don't need to embellish anything.
Awesome. Well, Abby, thanks for coming on here and doing this with us. And clearly you're I know Craig's not welcome on this show. Listen.
He's recording another video in there.
I don't want him on here. So, but you're welcome anytime. You want. Anytime you want to come on, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just let me know. Even if you're like, hey, I want to talk about this movie, just let me know, and we'll push our schedule. And
I will, because I'm going to watch some of these that you've recommended.
Yeah,
and maybe we can have Craig, but just him sleeping on the couch.
I think that'd be funny. Yeah, he'll have to read the subtitles.
Yeah, it's tough. Fantasy's tough for him, and so's the subtitles.
Craig can't read.
That I love. Yeah, I'm like,
the whole thing is that Craig can't read.
We love you, Craig.
We did it. Thanks everybody, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace out, y'all. I'm gonna go back to YHS Island.